You know what would be better than watching this commercial? Watching your commercial. Join the party that is Make Your Day Richer TV by advertising your brand, business, or project during the show. Use us to promote what you're doing to make our viewers' day richer. Scan the QR code or visit makeyourdayricher.com/advertising to start promoting today.
Make your day richer than it was before. Got some good times knocking upon your front door.
Oh, we're here. We're back. Happy. What day is it? I think it's Tuesday. Is it Wednesday? It's Wednesday. It is Wednesday all day. Thank you for being here, and thank you for 117,000 views and downloads of the show. 117,000. Now's a really good time to just share the show. You just press the little button, share it to your friends, send it to your family members, send it to your enemies, whoever you need to send it to get us to 118 by tomorrow, would you? Thanks. Every day. You know, I had a great interview before this show today. We're live right now, and we pre-taped an episode that's going to go out later with just fantastic people I am meeting thanks to PodMatch, and I'm so excited that every day I get to introduce you to more people that you need to connect with. Here's someone you need to connect with. You've seen on the show before, Amy Lindner Lesser, who has a podcast called Introspection with 2 N's, I-N-N, Introspection. I help her with her podcast, and she had a new episode that released this week. Now, note, this is how much of a trooper she is that she is very sick and still recorded this episode the other day. And so it's still a great episode, though. And we're taking a joy audit on introspection. So take a look at this clip.
One of my other rituals for each New Year's is, since my husband passed away in 1999, I spent time over New Year's Eve and New Year's Day writing a letter to him. And I write a letter that tells him what I've gone through, what's happened to me in my life over that year. The good things, the not so good things, and the bad things. It's a way to bring him into my life. And it's become a tradition and a ritual, and it makes it easy for me to say, no, thanks, I don't want to go out New Year's Eve. I have something to do. And I do.
I'm going to start, no thanks. That's my word for 2025 is no thanks. It's 2 words, but anyway, Introspection is available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Great show. Amy is an amazing person, an amazing grief coach. So look her up, would you? Let's see. What else do I have to tell you? I don't think anything. So let's start the show, shall we? We're going to try a little. You may or may not notice what's new today, and that's okay if you don't, and it's really good if you don't. But I'm trying something new today. I'm just throwing that out there. And so we're going to see if this works. All right. Are you ready? Because we have a really good show today. Daniel Goddard is here. He is from Young and the Restless. You may have seen him on, and he has a great app called Dysko. That he's moved on from acting into this whole entrepreneurial AI world, and his app Dysko brings you into like virtual reality to meet people. It's really cool. He'll explain it better than I can, but it's amazing, and you should check it out. And then Stuart Jaffe is here. And I met Stuart at the Inkpreneur Summit last November in Winston-Salem. Shout out to Ella. And he's a great sci-fi author. And so he's also on the show today. So we should probably get going, shall we? My first guest is not just a familiar face from shows like Beastmaster and The Young and the Restless. He's also a successful entrepreneur, having founded both a digital marketing firm and a cutting-edge AI networking app called Dysko. So whether you're an aspiring actor, an entrepreneur in the making, or just simply wanting to build a stronger online presence, this is a must-see interview. So please welcome Daniel Goddard.
Well, I think if you're creative, it's all about finding a path and an outlet for that creativity. I did 1,000 episodes of Young and the Restless. Prior to that, I did a TV show called Beastmaster, where I had a pet tiger and a pet eagle, and I ran around in a loincloth. And even to its own extent, there was a lot of takeaway from working with a tiger and an eagle. So, you learn no matter what situation you're in, is to glean from it those little bits and pieces that you can take to the next journey that you embark upon. So everything is a linear progression of life. I think we're some of our experiences, and we just find a way to move to the next stage, take what we've learned and apply it as effectively as possible in the next state.
Your career has ranged so much. What did you want to be when you were a kid, when you grew up?
Good question. As a kid, I wanted to be an actor. Question is, why does someone want to be an actor? When someone says to me, "Oh, I want to be an actor," the question is, like, why? What is it that you want to do? Why do you want to be an actor? And you'd normally hear, I want to express myself. I want to kind of like go on the journey. For me, it was because I couldn't decide really what I wanted to do, and I thought, wow, I could be a Air Force pilot one time, and then I could be a detective another time. I could be a doctor, and for me, it was a way of going, I don't have to lock myself down to one ideology. So, which is kind of like been the overall template of my life. Like, I've been a writer. I've had film deals with Paramount Studios, and I've acted. I'm an entrepreneur with a successful digital marketing company. I've designed artificial intelligence apps. So I think I try and allow myself to have a direction of where I want to go and the things that do interest me. But overall, it's about allowing that creativity to evolve to the next iteration of its existence.
How do you, obviously 1,000 episodes of anything. We're at 130, 40 right now of this episode. So
Right,
1,000,
right.
that doesn't happen overnight. Like what, you don't get an acting degree and then the next day you're on the Young and the Restless set. What was that like? Like how long was that journey to?
What's interesting is, but what people don't understand who aren't in the acting business, they don't understand how difficult daytime TV is, because you get a new script every day. You'll do 78 pages in the span of 5 hours, 8 hours, and you're doing 7 episodes in 4 days. So what happens is that you're constantly having to learn new material. Like, you and I can sit down here now and just talk and just like pontificate about certain things, but you're so rigid and so structured. Like, everything is blocked. The lighting is done. You have to move from here on this line. You have to do this. You have to learn the dialogue. You have to stick to script. And so it's mentally taxing and mentally exhausting. It's really just an exercise in just testing your limits, and honing your fortitude. So I think that to get to that place and be on there that long, you really have to be professional. You have to work hard at your craft. You have to learn how to learn dialogue. You have to learn how to deliver the dialogue. And then along the way, you have to build a fan base, because without a fan base, your career is very short. So you have to respect your fans as anything you do in life. If you're in a consumer business and you have consumers to consume your product, you have to respect that consumer, whether it's in marketing or whether it's in acting or whether it's in podcasting, because your fans and your base are who give us the opportunity to do what we do. So it's a journey into constant self-analysis, constant self-awareness, and constant adjustment in order to continue and change. Because as things change, I was on the show 15 years. So basically everything changes in 15 years. So you've got to constantly adjust along the way. So you have to be very aware of your surroundings and how you slide into those surroundings.
What did you love about that time of your life? Because it's so, like you said, it's such a grind, and it's acting to the 10th degree.
Yes.
And if that's what you wanted to do, like growing up wanting to be an actor, and that's sort of like you're doing that every single day, new script, like it's over and over again. What did you love about that?
People say, what is it like? And I say, well, I've never robbed a bank, but to me, it's like, I can envision it being like robbing a bank. You have one chance to get it right, because on Y&R and most soap operas, you have one take. So you may have 8 scenes that are in the same set. It's tape, rehearse, tape, rehearse, tape, rehearse. And rehearsal is always just a camera rehearsal where you'll go through the scene so the camera people know where everything is, the lighting's right, you go straight to tape. So you have one chance. If you get that scene wrong, they're never happy about it. If they have to come back and pick up one line, they'll come back and pick up that one line. But so I always say to people, it's like you have one chance to get it right. And I always treated it like every scene was an opportunity to audition to keep my job, because I hold myself to that standard. So you have to constantly say to yourself, you have to be someone that always wants to be better. You can't always want to be the same. You always have to want to get better. And as you say, the acting is to the 10th degree. Like, I've had an evil twin. Okay. I've had my father try to kill me. I've had my wife, end up with but we had some very real stories too. Like, my wife ended up with ovarian cancer. We managed to save some eggs. We managed to have a surrogacy to have our children. But then, it's always, everything is normal narrative on steroids. So you have to somehow go with the flow, because you'll get some storyline that's a little wacky, and you can wish, oh, I wish it went in this direction, but it didn't. I wish it went in that direction, but it didn't. So it's like life. You wish life was going in this direction or that direction, but it didn't. You're here. So it teaches you a very solid understanding of being in the present and listening and being aware to your surroundings and the stimulus and the stimulations that exist within that surrounding. So it teaches you to be very present minded.
What made you decide to walk away kind of from that world and get into marketing and technology, which I'm awful at? I don't understand any of that. I was just talking to someone about AI, and I was like, I don't get it. So what made that happen?
I think that life has its own journey for you. I'm a big believer in, if you want to call it, say, God's will, that because you can endeavor to try and have your life go in a certain direction. You can swim against the current. You can force what you think is the seasons, but at the end of the day, you can't plant in winter, and you can't swim upstream unless you're a salmon. You know what I mean? So you start to realize that the flux of life will always take you where you're meant to be. So for me, I think what happened is I reached the point where I felt like I had no control. I felt like maybe there was something else that was going to give me that control I'd wanted. And I realized with marketing, I have the ability to take something that someone wants to sell or create and add into it my interpretation of how that should go with more control. So I think that, in short, life takes you on that journey, and you have to learn, the longer you're on the journey of life, that you have to accept that things play out the way they play out, and you can't try and force it to be where you want it to be, or it'll just break you down. It'll eventually just wear you out.
Tell everybody what you're doing now and about your app.
Sure. So we have an app. It's called Dysko. It's Dysko. Basically, Dysko is an AI networking app. So what I learned from being on Young and the Restless for all these years was, we would meet people that say, we never would have been friends if it wasn't for like the love of your show or your character. And we thought we had nothing in common. And these could be people that grew up in diametrically opposed areas, and visually you'd never think they were compatible, but intrinsically they have a passion for the same thing. So what Dysko does is it allows people to enter the hashtags that define them. And then the algorithm will take anyone anywhere in the world and match you to that person based upon commonality. And then our AI will further enhance the way you can have a conversation. So you and I would match, for example, and then it would say, you have these things in common. And then we could say, okay, now create a conversation using these tags, and then it would begin the conversation. So it's an icebreaker for people, whether it be in business, at a convention, or a kid is going to a new college and they've never been there before. You can take your profile and drop yourself at the college. And then other kids who go there can meet and match with you before you arrive on your first day. So it's about creating networks of like-minded people and breaking the ice in order to allow people to have meaningful relationships.
What a great idea. What are you hearing from the users?
We're on our third build right now with a new launch coming out around January 17. We hosted about 3 years ago the world's first augmented reality fan event. So we had an augmented reality version of the app where you could drop into. We dropped into Genoa City, which was the fictitious city where Young and the Restless takes place, but it's really a city in Wisconsin. So people would drop in to the GPS location, Genoa City, and then they would start matching with other people who dropped in. And the takeaway was always, we just made new friends. We made meaningful friends. We made meaningful connections. And thank you for that. And that was the thing that made it was rewarding to know that you could take people that would never have met people in their life, and then they made this new friend. Like Dysko will allow you, that you can have a doppelganger in Finland right now that is into the same things you're into that you never would know how to meet. And Dysko unlocks that capability. It allows you to find the people that are your tribe, that match with you, that connect with you. And then the AI chat will allow you to then to converse irrespective of what language you speak. So at the end of the day, you will start meeting more people like you and enriching your life and also their lives by having a deeper connectivity with people.
I didn't realize it was a Wisconsin city. That's where I'm from. So next time I'm back visiting, I'll have to check it out and actually go to the city and see.
Right. Yeah, it looks nothing like it looks like on the TV show. It doesn't have all the hype.
So, Yes. Yeah. What does the name mean? Where does that come from, Dysko?
Well, Dysko is short for like discover, but we didn't want to be DISCO because that's like a dance floor. So you're basically discovering the commonalities you have with people in the world, and it's allowing you to basically, at the same time, we like to play upon Dysko as like the dance floor where people meet and interact. So the website right now is Dysko, dysko.co.co. To see more about it. We have a lot of colleges that have already onboarded the app from the point of view of the deans want kids who are leaving small towns to be able to arrive at a big school on the first day and start to connect, because kids will go to college for the first year and they just don't make friends. And especially nowadays, social anxiety disorder is 35% of the college-based generation because they grew up on their phones. They grew up with technology and they've lost the skill set of walking up to a stranger and saying, hi, I'm so-and-so, nice to meet you. Who are you? They just don't do it anymore. So this way you can look on the map around you, see who's around you, you see the tags you have in common, and then allow the conversation to play out in AI to break the ice. So eventually you can walk up to them. And by that time, you know everything about the person. You know what you have in common. You know the things that make you worthy of being friends and having that click. So it's all about discovery.
Wow. You've obviously been in the AI space longer than it's kind of been open to the general public. What are you seeing coming up, or like what are you working on? What are you I'm so interested in AI because I don't understand it and it seems overwhelming to me.
Yeah, AI is basically kind of like the assistant the invisible assistant that can do things for you. And one of the things that I believe in AI is that it is streamlining systems. So, if you could find a way, like you look at ChatGPT, I don't know if you use ChatGPT, but basically you can write something ad hoc, have it be vernacularly incorrect, have it be grammatically horrific, but then it's going to simplify what you're trying to do. So AI is about streamlining the user flow and streamlining your user experience. So, for example, going back to Dysko, what Dysko will do, it'll match you with people, but you might have a hashtag, say, make your day, okay? And then someone may have, make my life happy. And it will say, well, they're similar, but you didn't understand that this person connects with you of the simplicity of it. Or you can say hashtag Tom Brady fan, some could be hashtag Tom Brady GOAT. But it'll connect you because you have Tom Brady in common. And then once you're connected over a multitude of different things and the AI chat starts to take place, it's meant to take away from you the laborious, trials and tribulations of what can I talk to this person about? What do we have in common? And it does it for you. So it's about taking things that are complicated and stripping them back to the core principle of what you're trying to achieve, which is, writing an essay, connecting with people, or even, helping you shop for things. So AI is about unburdening you from the exhaustive process of just grinding out the daily, tasks we have to do.
What do you love most about your life right now?
Oh, that's a good question. What do I love most about my life?
Yeah.
I love the fact that my family is healthy. I love the fact that I have an opportunity to talk to people and connect with people, because I find there's a lot of people that I'll connect with, and you realize that everybody's enduring the same process of just, how do I get through the day? Life is so hard. Life is a grind, and I really enjoy, which is one of the inspirational things behind Dysko, is to try and simplify people's troubles. Find a way to allow people to go, okay, that made me feel better about myself. That made me feel like it's not as hard as I thought. I'm not alone. So I really enjoy. I enjoy inspiring. I enjoy sharing my knowledge and my life experience with people,
What a great
because
answer.
I've had a lot of life experience.
Yeah.
Everybody has in their own way, but if you can find a way that you can take your life experience and pass it on to someone in some form of mentoring role in particular, it's very rewarding.
What is the best way that people can connect with you and follow you?
Sure, great question. They can. We also have a digital marketing company that launches brands. It's called underthein.com. It's short for Under the Influence, so it's UNDERTHEIN.com. Check out the website. There's a connect or contact us page on it, which will just send us a message. So if you want to reach out about any branding, any marketing, anything to do with growth or business growth or mentoring, go to underthein.com and hit the contact us page and send a message. We'll get it and we'll get back in touch.
Perfect. I appreciate you being here, educating me, and and I'm looking forward to finally getting AI into my world.
It'll make your life easier. Enjoy it. All
Sure.
right. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much. All right. You take care.
Thanks, Daniel. Yeah,
You
we'll
got
take a break. We'll be right back with Stuart Jaffe after this. Don't go away.
You know what would be better than watching this commercial? Watching your commercial. Scan the QR code or visit makeyourdayrricher.com/advertising to start promoting today.
My next guest is rewind. My next guest is a true storyteller, weaving tales that span multiple genres. He's the author of the Max Porter Paranormal Mysteries and the Parallel Society. Stuart has a unique talent for blending the excitement of classic pulp fiction with contemporary themes, creating stories that are both thrilling and thought-provoking. His new book, Pioneers of the Pathway, is available now. Please say hello to Stuart Jaffe. Hello, sir. How are you?
Hi. How are you doing? I'm doing great. It's great to see you again.
I know. It was like I was talking before. We met at the Inkpreneur Summit in November. How was that for you? I had so much fun.
Yeah, it was fantastic. It was their first year doing it, so it was kind of small, but sometimes that's a benefit because you're not overwhelmed by thousands of people. Instead, you can actually get one-on-one conversations. And like you, I didn't even we kept missing each other the entire time until the last few minutes. And even that though was, that was a good connection. And here I am. So
here you are. And you were also busy because right after that you were releasing a new book. So congratulations. And it's part of a new series, correct?
It's the start of a science fiction series. So I write mostly fantasy, urban fantasy, all different kinds of fantasy, contemporary stuff. And I'm best known for the Max Porter Paranormal Mysteries. But I had surveyed my readers like a year ago and said, I've got room for a new series. I usually have 2 or 3 running at the same time. I said, what would you all like? And a lot of the majority wanted science fiction. So I'm like, great, I can do that. And I had this book I've been trying to write for like 10 years. Wow. I had started. Well, like 10 years ago, I had this idea of this family, like a generational drama over a long period, in where they're constructing something massive across a planet. And I just 10 years ago, I just didn't have the skills to do it. Like I started outlining it and it just fell apart. And then like 5 years later, I wrote this as one book. And whenever back then my son was living with us, he's an adult now, but he was still in high school, so he was living with us, and I read my books out loud to my wife, and he was listening in, and so I was reading it to both of them. It's part of the editorial process. When you read it out loud, you can catch a lot of mistakes you wouldn't otherwise. And so I'm reading this to them, and it was the first book, the only book I've ever read out loud to them where like I didn't even get halfway through, and they're like, something ain't right here. This ain't working. And I was like, okay. And I thought I knew what was going on, but I wasn't sure. I put it away, and I said, you know what? I'll come back to it in a year, and we'll see, what maybe I can come at it with fresh eyes. And at one point, I'm like, I need to get back to that. So I pulled the book up, and apparently had been about 5 years, not one, but I now had the skills, and I now understood that I was trying to put way too much into one little book, and it's really 4 or 5 book series. And I completely saw all the mistakes I made, and so then I wrote this, which is book 1.
That's an answer to my next question of like, how do you decide what's going to be a standalone book and a series? And I guess that answers the question of you maybe don't when you start out.
In this case, I didn't recognize the scope of the ambition of what I wanted to do. And there's series, and there are serials, and there are series. Most of what I write are serials where each book is its own, like in Max Porter, their Paranormal Mysteries, every book is its own mystery and its own complete unit. You could just about start anywhere in the series, which is a good thing because there's 18 of them. So you want to have plenty of jumping in points. But a series is continual, so you kind of have to read them in order. So this book is the first of a series. Most of mine are serials, and a serial you can set up knowing that that's what you're going to do, right? You're like, I'm going to write. We call them series for just a shorthand, but I'm going to write a mystery series. Each book is going to be individual, so all you have to do is lay the groundwork for good characters that can be put into multiple situations over and over and over and over. A true series where each book is dependent on the previous one takes a lot more planning.
How are you writing more than one book at a time, or do you concentrate on one and then?
Yeah, I do one at a time, but
Okay.
I tend to put out 3 or 4 a year.
Wow.
Because, well, that always sounds so really like wow, but it's not. If you're a full-time author and you truly treat it like a full-time job, most professional full-time authors I know can write 1,000 words in a day. So if you do that every day of the year, that's 365,000 words. That's 3 to 4 books easily.
Yeah.
Without and we can write 1,000 words in an hour. So that's only 1 hour of work a day.
You've got the easiest gig in the world. Is what you're doing.
Now they have to be good words. They have to be edited words. There's a lot more to it. Sometimes finding that hour is not always easy, but the point is it's more doable than you think. It just seems impossible because even the idea of writing a novel for a lot of people is just a massive mountain that they can't even conceive of.
Yeah, I mean, I was that like person who was like, I'm going to write a book, and then I'm so like, I'm not a good organizer, and I'm not a good organized person, and so you're jumping around, and to stay organized and to stay like to know where you're going just seemed too crazy to me. And I was like, this will be a book that never ends because I don't know how to end it. Do you know when you're starting out, like, okay, I want to write 5 books in this series, or are you writing and then you figure out kind of starting and stopping?
So for a series like this where each book goes in order, I have a rough idea. I think it will be 5 books. But I wrote a series that just finished last year called The Parallel Society. It's a contemporary fantasy about this gal who works in her family bookstore and learns that grandma and her 2 elderly friends have been saving the universe for decades, and they now are getting old and don't want to do it anymore, so they want her to take over. And I thought it would be, there's 3 elderly people in it, the 3 heroes, and I kind of wanted to do like a symmetry thing. It'd be 1 book for each one of them, and then the last 3 books would be one of each of the new people who are taking over, and it would be like this, passing of the baton or the gauntlet or whatever. But as I was writing it, I had introduced a new character, and I realized I need to deal with this. So there became a 7th book right in the middle. So it's the first 3 books, then that 4th book is that one, and then the original plan continues. So you kind of have to be a little bit flexible.
Organized but flexible. Yeah, that's what it sounds like. Where do you come up with your ideas for stories?
The truth is that for all professional writers I've ever met, the question is not where do you come up with your ideas, it's how. We've got too many ideas. It's not a matter of how to come up with them, they're just popping up all the time. It's how do I sift through them and figure out, okay, that one is actually good that I should use for a novel, and that one over there is just the stupidest idea I've ever had, and I should never use that. That's the challenge, not coming up with them, but figuring out which ones are good.
Do you write them all down and then look at them, or is it like a process of like that pops in and you're like, that was dumb?
A lot of times it's very quick. You got to figure most ideas are dumb. It's kind of a brainstorming thing, and the ideas just pop up. A lot of times when I'm watching movie or TV, and I'll see something on there, I'll be like, I could have done that better. What they really should have done is this, and then that's the beginning of an idea. Or or I have an idea and I'm like, and I'll see somebody else do it. I'm like, oh, that idea is used. And I know people write down their ideas. I generally don't. When it comes to core ideas, I figure it's got to be, especially at my age, it's got to be sticky enough to stay in here, because it's hard to keep anything in there. So if it's sticky enough to stay in there, it might actually be a good idea. And then I start writing down. I do write out outlines and all that. I'm not we call a pantser, somebody who writes by the seat of their pants. I can't do their
pants. That's funny. So you've been in that world, the publishing world, for so long, and it has changed so much.
Yeah.
Do you love the way it's going? Are you just rolling with it? Do you miss any of the old, like go in, where you only had to go into a Borders or a Barnes and Noble, or what do you like?
Oh no, I love this. So there was I did about 10 years. My first 10 years was a short story author, which is another answer to you were saying you tried to write a book. Try short stories. They're a lot easier to actually finish, and then you feel like you actually accomplished something. But when I started, there was no indie. And so you had to get an agent. You had to go onto the merry-go-round where you'd write a book. Your agent would take it to the publishers, in my case, because it's fantasy and science fiction, Tor and Bantam and Spectrum and all those, and Rock. And then I would get the response of, oh, we love it. We love his writing. We love his characters. We love everything. We're not going to buy it, over and over. And so I'd write a new book and a new book, and it would happen. And I finally got to a point where I was like, I guess it's just not I guess I don't have whatever it takes to get commercial enough to sell. And I was thinking about quitting. And that was about a year after, like, indie publishing happened. The Kindle came out, and Amazon started letting people publish online. And it took me about a year to decide that indie publishing is not a bad word anymore, because it was a bad word for a long time. And I was like, well, I've written all these short stories. A bunch of them published. I'll put them together, put out a short story collection just to see what this is all about. So I did that, learned what I had to do, got it out there. And the first time that I sold a book to somebody I could not identify as my mother, my friend, where I just was like, I have no idea who bought that, I suddenly felt like I did when the first year I started writing, like, whoa, the world is open to me. Somebody cares enough to, and then I was hooked, and I was like, at that point, it's like, I'm never going to publish this normal way again. I'm going with indie. And I did for like a decade. I was all in on indie, and now I'm a hybrid author. The indie thing, I think, is wonderful. It's like garage rock, it's like people just, at least it was originally, it was just people putting it together. There was no software that there is now, but there was no software to make an ebook. We had to cobble. You'd have like 3 or 4 programs just to make an ebook. It was such a pain, and it was fun. It was a lot of DIY kind of thing. and I still love it. I love that it's no longer just a couple editors who are like, you get to go, but you don't. You get
Waving
a
the magic wand. Yeah.
Now it's like, I write a book, I put it out, and the readers are like, we love that, we want more, or don't ever write that again. And I've had both. I had we were talking earlier about series. I had a series where I had planned it for it was going to be this big YA series. And I wrote the first book, and it got great reviews from doing blog tours, which were a thing back when I wrote it. And it just does not sell. I maybe sell like one copy a year, just never sold. And so clearly it just doesn't resonate. And I had one like super fan who just loved it and kept wanting more. And so for her, and this is another thing I get to do as an indie author, I wrote a sequel just to close out the story. So it's actually a duology, and it's out there, but that's all it'll ever be. And if I was with a major publisher, that second book would never get published and people would be left hanging. So,
which is also a great way to connect. And a great way to connect then with your fans and with the people reading your books that on a different level than you'd be able to. Also connecting with people on a different level. Can we talk about the band you're in? Because when you're not
Sure.
writing, you're making music. Tell everybody about the band and how they can follow and go see you.
So I play lead guitar in a band called the Bootleggers here in North Carolina, and it's blues. I taught myself to play guitar off of old blues. I love blues. Met some other guys who love blues, and other guys who are more into rock, and so we kind of do a lot of blues rock, 70s classic stuff. I guess you'd call it dad rock now. We play bars and stuff like that, and we've played a couple like barbecue and blues festivals and stuff like that. And right now you can't see us anywhere because we don't have a singer at the moment. We're auditioning for new singers. We just played, the last gig we played was a month or two ago at it's a charity. It's a bunch of bikers who go ride miles around and get money. You know how people do that for running and all that. The same thing as these bikers. I think it's called Bikers for Grannies, and they raise money for some elderly care and all that. And after their long day in the hot sun riding around in like September or whatever it was, they park at this bar, and we were the entertainment. And we've done it a couple of years in a row, and it's so much fun.
Well, while we're waiting for you to find a singer, then just go read his books. That's what you can do. What do you love most about your life right now?
What do I love most about? That's a really good question. I love my life. I love that. I enjoy working. Like I do the work I enjoy. So I wake up and I'm writing. I'm having this conversation with you as part of my job. It's fun. Even the parts that are not fun are fun. And then I get to go to conventions, science fiction, fantasy conventions, and be like a mini celebrity for that weekend. But then I get to go home and just be a normal person. If suddenly a book of mine took off and I became the next Stephen King, I'm not going to turn that away. But part of me, I think, would lament the loss of privacy that you get with not being super famous. I don't know how, like a Tom Cruise, I don't know how that guy functions when you can't even breathe without people wanting to record it, you know?
Yeah. It's kind of like you have the best of both worlds, which is great. How can people connect with you and follow what you're doing and go buy your books?
Sure. Well, I was very clever. I went with stuartjaffe.com.
Clever.
So,
clever.
That helps. And I also, most of my readership tends to be on Facebook. Or at least that's where I get the most response. So you can find me on Facebook. I have a fan group called Stuart Jaffe's Madhouse. And so you can, sign up for that and I'm there every week. And then if you go to my website, there's a link there that you can sign up for my newsletter. It's a monthly newsletter, just once a month. But when you sign up for the newsletter, you'll get the first book in this series. You'll get that for free and some free short stories. And so you can try it out. I use it's a terrible analogy, but I use the drug dealer method. I'm happy to give you the first taste of my writing for free, because I'm pretty sure you'll get addicted. and I've written over 60 some novels and more on the way. So I'll get plenty of money off of you later.
At one point. Yeah. Yes. Well, come back anytime you've got a book coming out. It's been a pleasure.
Well, thank you very much. I'm so glad to be here, and thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. Stuart Jaffe, everybody. We'll take a break and be right back.
You know what would be better than watching this commercial? Watching your commercial. Scan the QR code or visit makeyourdayricher.com/advertising to start promoting today.
Well, that's our show, everyone. Thanks for watching. Thanks to Daniel and Stuart for being on. Now's a good time to still share it. You still have time to share it. Share the show. Boop. Like that, and love it, and like it, and I appreciate it. We have a brand new show, all new, tomorrow, again, with some music. We're going to start the morning off with music from Maya, and talk about her project that she's doing, and also Brian Swain will be here to talk about his new book, so that's a great show. Go make your day richer. Go make someone else's day richer. You've made mine richer by watching the show, and I love you for it so much. Take care, everybody, and we'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.